All right, welcome everybody. We are going to begin with a little practice. Okay, so as always, you can just stretch out the body to begin, working into those nooks and crannies. And when you're ready, then beginning to settle. Closing down the eyes when you are ready. And first paying attention to your breath. You can take a few deep breaths in through the nose, filling up the belly, chest, upper chest, and out through the nose, nice and slowly. And after the next exhalation, relaxing the breath. And allowing it to return to its natural rhythm. And from here, we are going to do a variant on the practice from the first chapter on tracking sensations. So, bringing your attention into your body, noticing if there is a sensation presenting itself, and honing your focus there. If no sensation presents itself, choosing the first area that comes to mind, no arguments, the first area that comes to mind and honing your focus there. As your attention is present with this sensation, beginning to notice the size, shape, depth of this sensation. So how big or small is it? Is it flat? Does it have depth? What shape does it have? And once you have determined this, as best as you can, I want you to focus on the perimeter of this sensation. So if it is a square, the outline of the square. If it is a circle, the outline of the circle. So forgetting about the inner or the middle of the sensation and focusing all of your attention on that outline, the perimeter, as best as you can. Now, holding your attention on the outer perimeter, I'm going to ask you to split your focus. So part of your focus is on the outer perimeter of that shape. And the other part of your focus is just outside that perimeter, where there is no sensation, or it is a more neutral area of the body. So holding these two in place. I'll repeat. So you're holding your attention on the outside perimeter. So taking in the sensation, the outside perimeter, and just outside the perimeter where there is no sensation. And as you're holding your tension there, you're mindful not to bring in any story or any history. You are simply present with it now and observing. Noticing how it begins to shift, move, change as you hold your attention there. As it moves or changes in any way, you are staying with it, continuing to focus on the outside and just outside. So the outside perimeter and just outside the perimeter. If at this point you have found that the sensation has dissolved entirely, coming back to your breath, and wherever you are in that process with the sensation, we will let it go and return to your breath. As you are focusing on the breath, you can begin to expand your attention across your body once more and noticing if a new or different sensation in a different part of your body is calling your attention. And if so, bringing your attention there. If not, choosing a place in your body to focus on, the first place that comes to mind. It can be helpful to place your attention on a part of your body that normally does not bother you. So normally does not call your attention day to day. Choose an easier place, a more neutral place. And as you have found that sensation, again, taking note, what size is it? Its length, its breadth. Does it have a depth? Or is it flat? Does it have a texture? And if you had to put on a shape on it, what shape would you call it? Now, as you have found the shape of this sensation, again, you are going to focus on the outside line of this sensation, of this shape. So the perimeter, forgetting about what's going on in the center, simply bringing your attention to that outer edge of this shape. With a very neutral attitude. So this is neither good nor bad, it just is. If you are experiencing discomfort of any kind, bringing the mind back into a place of This just is. It's neither good nor bad. It simply is how the sensation is presenting in this moment. Now, as your attention is focused on that outer edge, you are also going to bring your attention just outside the outer edge. So you're focusing on the outer edge where there is sensation and just outside where there is no sensation, and holding your attention here and noticing what happens as you do so. Staying present with the sensation as it shifts or moves. If another part of your body calls your attention, ignore it. Stay with where you placed your focus. Noticing what's happening as you are bringing your presence to this sensation. And wherever you are, you're going to let go of that sensation. Let go of any story attached to the sensation. You will not be revisiting it and coming back to your breath. You can begin to take a few nice deep inhalations here, enjoying the breath, expanding the belly, the chest, the upper chest, and out through the mouth. Taking a couple of these. And when you are ready, gently beginning to move the body once more, maybe wiggling the fingers, the toes, moving the wrists, the arms, opening the eyes, beginning to take in your environment once more. Lovely, and joining the space. So today, before I get into questions and opening the floor, I wanted to speak a little to story. I was listening to a podcast. It's a podcast called The Way Forward by Alex Zeck. If any of you have heard of it, it's a wonderful alternative health podcast, and he's amazing guests on. And there was a woman sharing a story, and I've heard similar stories to it, but it was the inspiration behind wanting to speak further into this today. And she was sharing a story of how a hypnotherapist convinced a person who was holding a coin that this coin was scalding hot. And so the person's hand then broke out in blisters. So the coin, of course, was cold, it was metal, there was no tricks with the coin, it was just that the hypnotherapist made this person believe in the deepest trenches of their mind that this coin was scalding, and so their body had a reaction. And in our last live call, I was speaking to this, the power of the mind and the power of the mind in creating a symptom. And if the mind can be so powerful to create a symptom, just like this example has shown very quickly, or, that we can see from this example, how if the mind believes something, it can create the symptom for it. And if the mind is that powerful, then it means that the mind can also dissolve. It can also do the exact opposite. And here we have the placebo and nocebo. So these things are proven. And it's beginning to work with that, right? So if these things are proven in science, right? If the placebo effect and the nocebo effect is proven, right? There's been enough examples of it to know that if a person believes they have taken the medicine, if a person believes that they're getting better, their body can bring that about. But it's not the body, it's the belief. It's what's going on. The body is responding to the mind. Okay, the body is responding to the mind. And this has been shown across so many ailments. Because last week there was a question there about, well, how do we know if something is physical or emotional? And if something does have a physical component, do I also have to address that component while healing? And the answer is kind of twofold, as in, you might have to, but not in all cases, as the two studies that I was speaking to last week and that are in the language of the body course, that sometimes you can address purely the psycho emotional undercurrent, so the story, and that can relieve the symptoms. So one kind of needs to figure that out for themselves in terms of intuition, what makes them feel safest, what makes them most comfortable. And I'll just, come back to that word safe. Like in that first chapter, it's all about this is how your body works. It prioritizes safety. So sometimes in that healing journey, then it might mean that you have to go down the route that feels safest to you, which might mean conventional medicine and whatnot, because that's what you believe is best for you and checking off all the boxes. And that might absolutely be the case. And it might not be, right? So you might go down that road and you might not get the answers that you need, and then you start seeking alternatives, or you play both at the one time. But to backtrack here into safety, right? So when we are looking for safety, this is very closely tied to fear. So if I am afraid, I will go to the known. I will do what I know. If I don't know what to do, right, the fear is there. I will go to the known. And in our own symptoms, if a physical symptom has appeared in our lives, if we don't have the understanding of the mind body connection, right, this element, we will always isolate the symptom and go about the ways that we once knew how to approach something. because we didn't have the information, let's say, of the power of the mind in the body. And if we then are to go down the road of, let's say, authority figures, and that authority figure gives us the worst case scenario, tells you that you are going to have something for a very long time or forever, your subconscious, might take that on as a belief and your body will respond to it. So your responsibility then is to begin to work with the story. So if I didn't fear that I would have this forever, if I didn't fear that this would be long lasting, where then do I have to focus my mind? Instead of continuing to strengthen the story of this has to be a diagnosis that is for X number of years, or this has to last for X amount of time because the authority figure said so, and the strength of the authority figure in our subconscious can be quite big in terms of really making us believe something. So we need to hold what professionals say to us as more opinions because nobody knows what's at the end of the road. Nobody knows what's at the end of the road. And so it means that we have to lean into a place of trust. So moving from fear to trust. So if my body is presenting this to me, what is it trying to teach me or tell me or show me? Or how do I have to show up differently? And this is where the idea of story comes in. Instead of focusing on the fear and the life you imagine that you will have with this illness, with this physical symptom, which is generally, I can't do this, I can't do that, I lack this, it limits me from doing that, I'm not able to do this anymore, right? We have this whole comparison thing. We need to train ourselves to let go of all of that because we can't actually know that. And so it means then we have to bring our attention into the now, be present with the physical sensations in the now, and begin to take as much out of life as we can in the now. Not waiting. Not waiting to be better, right? So if you move your mind into, I'm going to love life. I'm going to live life as much as I can. And that might mean for someone with a limited physical ability, right? So there might be a period where there's limited physical ability while you're here, while you're healing. And your mind is like going to, well, I can't do the things that I used to do. So we have to stop that. We have to get rid of that altogether. It's not helpful. What can I do now? What can I do today? It might be audiobooks of a certain nature, right? Maybe you've always wanted to get into philosophy, right? But you have issues with your eyesight, right? There's something healing in your eyes. And so we find a way to work with that at a time without comparing to what your life used to be like. If you have physical limitation, right, with your limbs, what can you do? So you might be mourning that you can't walk like you used to, you can't work out like you used to, you can't run like you used to, you can't swim like you used to, whatever it might be. But what can I do? What can I do? And what are my boundaries? How far can I push myself? Maybe I can't go for a really long walk, but maybe I can just position myself in the forest and sit there. Maybe I don't have to take all of this thing away from myself. How do I find a way to enjoy life in this? Because once you find that, your life force will start to return. This is why we're doing it, okay? Your life force will start to return. So, and I speak about this in the course, so your life force can be generated from new inputs, from stimulating new inputs, new environments, new projects. And this can benefit our overall health by getting our life force going again. We'll feel more vital. Our energy will return. So you might not think that you have the energy for these things. That is because you're trying to work from the energy purely from your physical body. We can get our life force going, which is our energetic body, which fuels our physical body, by doing things that literally light us up. And yes, within the constraints of what you're able for, but not looking at it as comparing to a past, more so asking yourself the question, how do I fall in love with life today? How do I fall in love with life today? And then anytime your past or what you're going through comes to your mind, you must find ways to change the story because all of your cells are listening. So this isn't the thing that limits you. This isn't the thing that suppresses you. This isn't the thing that makes your life difficult. There's a reason why this is in your life. And so can we find what might be even under these circumstances, which, for a part of you, does feel difficult and constrained and restrictive, but can we begin to see the gift? What am I learning? What have I learned about myself? What is this asking of me? There's a person that comes to mind as I'm speaking, and this person has been unwell for quite a number of years. And she's done many different things to try and heal. And eventually she's moved into this type of work, mind body work. And in the mind body work, one of those things is exactly what I'm saying to you. We need to find the gift. So the gift in whatever has been presented to us. And so her gift was, she found, she has had to ask for support. Something that was very, very difficult for her. She's very independent, can do everything herself, and even through this illness, kept that up until she started to soften and go, okay, I actually need to ask for help, which felt scary at first because you're being vulnerable. You could be rejected. So just beginning to get those cogs working for yourself of what those might be. Recently, she shared with me that she had this huge flush of energy, a surge of energy in her body that she hadn't felt in years, and she had no idea how to contain it because it was so big. She hadn't felt it in years. And so the work that she has been doing, as I say, is mind body work, but most recently is focusing on what is it? What is this trying to teach me? What is this asking of me? Who do I need to be in this? In what way is it asking me to change? That is for your betterment as you're moving forward. As she comes into full health and vitality, I would hope that she holds that in her heart, that she can ask for support and continues to ask for support. Just like whatever might be on your plate and in your body, what it's asking of you. So just being very careful of what story we're telling ourselves, just like that coin causing blisters because the person believed that it was scalding them. Your body is listening constantly to the stories that you're telling yourself. So beginning to shift that focus and beginning to fall in love with life again to get that energy going in your body, right? To get life flowing in your body again. Your life is not your illness. Your life is not your physical symptom. We need to decenter that. We're decentering it. And more so, we're asking, how do I need to show up today? In and through what life is offering you. Okay. I am going to open the floor. Does anybody have any questions with what I just shared, or any questions about your own process or the course material? You can put up your hand if so. Delete, wonderful.
I might have to leave the call early, so
Okay.
that's why I put up my hand, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you put on your
so
camera?
I'm actually in the car.
Yep.
Is that okay, just to leave it off?
Okay.
Um, I think I have a few questions, but the main one kind of is continuing from what you just talked about in terms of the kind of the story piece. On a good note, my shoulder has been brilliant, really good. And even when it's been at me, I've kind of responded to it differently. Like when I feel a twinge, I'm kind of like curious what's going on rather than kind of panic, oh, it's flaring again. So that's good. Um, but in relation to the story piece, I have noticed, um, say with my partner, if I was having a strong reaction or reacting, there was a story behind it. It was so much more than just that moment. So when you can spot that you're kind of reacting to a story, like in that moment, how do you go about shifting the focus? Is it just kind of just getting back into your body and naming it? Or I think when you're in the heat of the moment, like at the heat of an emotion, and now I'm able to spot that there's a story, while before I didn't.
So you're not talking about the story in terms of physical symptoms. You're talking about a
An emotion and a story, kind of, yeah.
in the middle of a relationship when an argument comes up.
Yeah, yeah.
And is that tied to any physical sensation in the body? But it's just you notice that you are reacting.
I think it's all linked back to, the way you talk about kind of ultimately going back to your authentic self, or that piece kind of being more aligned. That I do think it's all linked because it can affect needs and boundaries and that side of things.
Hmm. Can I ask what the story is?
um Trying in this, that maybe in the moment, and I know it's not true, but that I was forgotten about, or I'm not important, or that kind of piece. And
Hmm.
it could just be something really small and there's no harm, but that's the story, I think.
Right. And is there truth to that story?
There might have been at one point, but it's kind of been dealt with and not really anymore. But it seems to just that story is still there in my head. I haven't moved on, I think.
Right. So what we want to do with these kinds of beliefs is literally to call them out. So the belief is again, repeat it.
I think it's kind of a lot of it is if there was a lack of communication, and the belief could be that I'm not important, or that's kind of the belief,
I'm not
or
important.
I'm or I'm forgotten about, or
That
something
that's
along those
it.
lines.
I'm forgotten about. Okay. Because one, I want to say, when I say, is that true? Like, because it might actually be true. Like you might actually
Mm,
be forgotten about in a moment, and it's not fair to the person who's doing the inner work to try pass over everything spiritually. Okay. So I just want to say that there because I see that happening a lot. But if it's not, if truly you haven't been forgotten about, that you were considered,
mm,
right? So then we work with that belief outside of this situation, right? This is the work that you do outside of it. I'm forgotten about. You might know where it came from. You might not know where it came from. But in today's day, you can call out the truth. So you're not forgotten about. So you are thought of. I am thought of and I am considered. Yes, I am considered.
hmm
Does that feel true to you that you are considered?
Yeah. No, I do think, yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah,
Right. So I am considered and I am thought of. Yes?
yeah.
Okay. So anytime this thought comes in, you're going to speak to your inner critic, right? Mine's called sweetheart.
Mm.
So you speak to your sweetheart and you say, I noticed earlier that you brought up that thought again that I'm forgotten about. And sweetheart, that's not true. I am thought of and I am considered. And just sit with that. I am thought of and I am considered. And you're going to have to do that again and again until sweetheart believes you.
Mm.
I am thought of, I am considered. And then, in the heat of an argument, if you think that that's what you're pulling off, then pause.
And then just go back to that kind of thought.
But just tell that person that if it's possible, that you'll continue later if it's something that you need to find your center on again. If you think
Yeah,
that you are, let's say, not having a conversation about what's immediately happening,
yeah,
then it's not really constructive. And so just asking to step out and see, was there truth to what you were thinking or feeling? And if there was, and I say that again, it's this trust piece, not to override your own boundaries. But if you do think that uh, there's no truth to it, then you need to begin to reassure sweetheart. So she
yeah.
begins to take on a new track.
No, that's really helpful.
And then
Because
she will
no,
begin
yeah,
to notice all the places where she's considered and thought of instead of the opposite.
yeah. I think as I know, I've talked about, I shouldn't be, the reaction doesn't warrant the situation. So I think it is the thought piece. I think that piece is really helpful.
Hmm.
Um, Thank you, Neve. And the other thing I'm wondering as well is the gratitude piece. Um, I've been doing a good bit of that, but sometimes I feel like it's nearly like, and I feel bad even saying this because I've so much to be grateful for. But sometimes I feel like when I'm doing it, it's nearly like a tick box in my head that I'm not feeling it in my body. You know, the way you talk about frequency and energy and how gratitude is like a higher frequency. Sometimes when I do it, I'm not in my body. It's like, does that make sense? Like it's a gratitude thoughts rather than a gratitude in my body.
Yes, so you're talking about the gratitude practice, not loving kindness.
No, no.
So just being grateful.
Yeah.
So even just doing it as a tick box exercise is valid and will be helpful. And you want to move into a place where you're literally feeling the gratitude in your body. So what are one of those things you might be grateful for on your list?
Oh, like I've so much, like health, family, my daughter, my partner, the house, there's so much.
Okay. So I want you to, you can keep that list, but I want you to begin to try to think of more literal things. So, and that are also present with your today. So I just loved it when my daughter smiled at me the way she did when I tickled her. Yes?
Mm,
That's gonna
yeah,
that's gonna evoke something. Yes?
yeah.
Or I loved it. I loved the sound of the rain on the window and knowing I was warm and toasty inside. Rather than I'm just grateful for my home. Like
Yeah.
in the small lived moments, what are the things that you're grateful for?
No, that's great. I can even feel that in my body when you said
Exactly.
about, yeah, yeah,
So bring it down to
yeah.
today and
Specific kind
and
of.
actually
Mm.
think about special little moments in the day. You know, f food. I'm a Taurus, so food is a big one for me, but it might be the smell of a peach that you just bit into or the juice, right? These kinds of things that evoke something in the body. Okay?
That's brilliant. Yeah, really helpful. Thank you, Neve.
Great. You're so welcome. That's it? Sloan.
Yeah, I think so. The only other one, and maybe this isn't for today, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's not relevant, but it's back to the frequency side of things. Is one thing I've noticed with myself is where so I like overall since doing this course, it's been great. Like, but one of the where my body can get stuck a bit is kind of, if I make a mistake or do something, I can be a bit hard on myself for that kind of like a self-blame or a guilt feeling or kind of like, oh, I wish I could have prevented that piece.
You mean in life when you make a mistake and you feel that way?
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose why it's relevant is ultimately where I'm kind of hoping to go is being at peace in my body and just being able to trust my gut and my instinct and kind of making peace with that type of stuff. And I
So
think that's a block for me.
So here you could be talking about working with the story of what you're saying to yourself. So it's changing the perspective of. So if there's nothing you can do about the situation, if there's nothing that you can do, everything has happened and you genuinely did make a mistake. we can focus, we can own up to that, right? And we can also focus on the another perspective of that. Like, I'm really glad that I tried. I'm really glad that I
Mm,
trusted in myself. I'll get it next time. I'm a step closer.
mm,
And in every mistake, you're going to learn something, and you're going to
mm,
learn a lot quicker the more mistakes you make. You're going to learn a lot more about yourself. You're going to
mm,
learn a lot more about life or whatever situation it is. You're going to learn a lot more in a quicker span of time than if you lived life perfectly,
mm,
which there's no such thing.
mm.
That's called dead.
Because I think I've always and I completely get that about, there's no such thing as perfect and stuff. But I think sometimes if I go into something just willy-nilly and I could have prepared for it a bit, and that's where I'm kind of like being hard on myself because I'm like, oh, I could have prepared, but ultimately long term I want to be more kind of go with the flow, if that makes sense.
Well, you're not giving me any specific situations here. So,
I'll say just an example would be, say, with my daughter, kind of like, especially in the early months, I kind of just went go with the flow and trusted everyone around me. And it was hard at the time. And I think had I have done a bit more research or, you know, maybe it wouldn't have been so hard. But that's just an example.
yes, okay. And maybe, you might also have to give yourself a bit of grace in that period because the first months of a new person's life is just chaos for the people who are looking
Mm,
after that little one. But also, I would take that intel. So instead of feeling guilty or whatever feeling it's bringing up in you, I would take that as intel. Okay, next time I know that I would like to research. I would like more resources. I don't just let
mm,
guilt play on me and go, I made a mistake there. I'll feel guilty about it and do nothing, nothing about, this intel that it's giving me, right? It's giving you intel, and now it's up to you to act on it, and that's how we grow. Next time, I'm going to show up differently because I want to be more prepared or whatever it is, and you dive into some parenting resources, if that's what you think it is, or if it's that you're just not very comfortable with trust or living in the now,
mm.
well then that's what you need to work on. Not that you
I
need,
think that's it, Neve. I think it's that piece. It's the being in the now, that piece.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is ultimately this is where I'm trying to get to. And I am more there than I've ever been before.
Yeah, so
So
you're realizing it's uncomfortable
yeah,
and it's leaning into that
yeah,
and trusting. And
yeah,
you can build that case file as in over the last 6 months or over the last however long it's been, how did the worst case scenarios come to play or did things work out better? How did I feel in all of that, right? Rather than your mind just replaying one specific thought, open it out and see the real truth. Journal about it because your mind is just taking you on a trip.
yeah, yeah.
Okay?
No, even just saying it out loud has kind of processed it for me. So thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I'm sorry, I'll have to leave early. But thank you, Neve. Thank you.
Thanks, Lean. Sloan.
Bye bye.
Now, would anyone else like to share, speak, ask a question? You can just put up your hand. Lovely.
Yeah, so hi everyone, by the way. Uh yeah, I'm not sure if this is exactly a question, but it is just kind of some stuff I'm going on in the journey, and I'd love any feedback you have. So I'm really getting a lot out of the course so far. especially in the moment to moment situations, and keeping an eye on the awareness part. Um, it's really helping because I can tell I'm constantly overriding my body and pushing and pushing. So great to take those moments to calm, check in with myself. It's made a huge difference already. One of the major differences it's made is it made me realize how tired I am. So I end up sleeping a lot lately, which I think is a good thing, really. Um, but where I'm kind of questioning how to move forward, maybe, is the emotional release of past emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So that part, I'm not sure. I watched back from the last session, and you talked a bit about that at the time as well, um, about how sometimes you need to prepare yourself to be ready to be able to release the emotions. And that's where I'm at, where I'm not sure if I'm ready or not, you know. Um, I know that they're there. I know that they might be quite intense
Yeah.
or big. And I'm not sure if I am really solid enough yet to take that on. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on how or if there's any, maybe is there smaller steps you can take first to test it out? Um, and also, I know also that a big issue for me is I would call it emotional constipation, where it's so blocked up. I can't, you were talking there about life force. It's hard for me to feel the positive emotions, even. So I would always be someone who would go to the sea and feel just overwhelming joy and awe. Can't feel that at all anymore, or
Mm.
just like slight hints of it. The only emotion I can usually feel is fear, or that kind of tension, but everything else is difficult. So maybe I need to do some coaxing out of emotions to start with.
Love this. Okay, thanks for bringing this to the table. So, what I was getting from you, it's dangerous to feel.
Mm,
It's dangerous to feel anything. Because if you feel anything, it's kind of an entry into the body. God knows what else is going to come. So we just
mm,
keep the cap on all of that. And I can hear by the words that you're using that you totally understand what I'm talking about in terms of being able to hold what comes up. You know, you use the word solid. Yeah,
mhm,
right. So you need to be sure that if you're really going to open the can on something, if you're going to do it yourself, right? It's different if you do it with a practitioner, okay? But if you're going to do it yourself in your own environment, you want to make sure that you're able to hold yourself through it. And so, as you continue to speak, what might be very nice for you, right? Because you've put a lid on all of the emotions, let's say, is you can begin to work with the nice emotions.
mm,
So beginning to try to just feel the steps to joy. I won't even say joy, right? But just the edge of joy. Can you bring yourself to the sea and just stand there? Just welcome your body, welcome yourself to the sea,
mm,
and just do this as a ritual, right? So it's not just something that you do once, but it might be something that you do every day or every second day or every third day or every weekend, like as much as you can. If that's one time in one place where it really brought joy into your being, because you might not get anything the first time, right? And that might bring up sadness and grief, which is kind of great, right? Because it means you're feeling something. So instead of being sad about feeling sad or grief, right? Just the edge of maybe disappointment. Bring your mind to, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. I'm feeling something, right? And that layer might take a while to pass. But just, so the second time, third time, maybe that comes up again. Maybe frustration and hopelessness comes up. Like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? All of that is brilliant. It means you're feeling something, right? Things are beginning to shift and move. And eventually that's going to pass. So going to the sea will be nice, but also might be uncomfortable. But you continue to go because you know your why, right? Your why is really important in your healing journey. You know your why. I'm taking myself to the sea because I want to heal myself physically. I know that to do that, I need to get my life force going. I know to get my life force going, I need to be able to feel again, right? Emotion is energy in motion. I need to begin to feel. So anything I feel, whether, if it's joy the first time, fucking great, right? But if it's not, and it's more likely going to be not, I don't want to write that up for you, right? Maybe it is joy, but let's say it's frustration or grief or sadness. All of that is welcome. So now our kind of mantra is it's all welcome. It's all welcome. It's all welcome. And the more you go, I would imagine joy is eventually going to come. So in this kind of way of approaching it, it's very gentle, right? You're not going into like what I described last week of a rage ritual. Like I'm intentionally going in, I'm writing about a specific incident, I'm bringing up those feelings in my body. No, there's none of that. You're literally just standing in front of the sea to welcome your body to the sea because you have a memory there of you enjoying it.
Mhm.
You used to love that. So it's like you're bringing yourself back to that again and again and again, just to have that gentle movement of whatever it is through the body. And eventually it's going to you're coaxing slowly, 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 gently, 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 welcoming anything, right? And let's say if some a big emotion does come, right, when you're standing at the sea, because you want to feel safe in that, if some emotion does come, you're in such a great place, right, in terms of be lovely if you weren't wearing your shoes, right? So your feet are in the sand. You're very grounded, right? You have the earth that you could just collapse into the sand and cry or whatever it is. And crying doesn't last forever. Crying is generally like 5 minutes. It feels like a lot in the time, right? But it's generally about 5 minute passes and we feel great afterwards. It might be that after that 5 minutes or 10 minutes, maybe it was a really big release. And I speak about that in the course, that you can have a cathartic release. And then that for a day or two, you're going to have to be even more gentle because it's the completion of an energetic cycle. Nothing's wrong. It's just all of this has moved that you have to rest until your body finds balance. And on the other side of that, you're going to feel more like yourself. Does that feel good to you?
That feels great. That
Okay.
feels something I can definitely do and look forward to doing.
Yes.
Um, and I do want to say it's been great to hear your experiences with moving through emotions in this way. It gives me more confidence that I can do it in the future as well with the heavier stuff. So it's really
Yeah.
nice.
And you're going to build more and more trust with yourself, more and more trust with yourself.
Mm.
And the reason I could do that was because I had trust in something greater. So, in my experience, two angels came to save me. I had never had any type of experience like that before, right? I'm not religious. I'd never had anything like that. But in my healing journey, I had that to draw from. That if I was really to go then, I was going to go then. But these beings uh, saved me, rescued me, gave me the strength, right, to get myself out of that situation. So then, as I was moving forward, I had them to kind of lean into that I'm going to do this. I knew you had my back before, so I just always knew they had my back.
Mm.
And so it can be a lot easier when people have faith or strength in something bigger than themselves, God, source, angels. It could be even, your grandmother in spirit, but just something that I don't know if there's anything like that for you that you can feel held or comforted by.
Yeah, there is
There
definitely.
is,
So yeah.
yeah. And that gave me the strength just to know that I was supported in the other realms. Because sometimes it
Mm,
can feel like quite a lonely journey, like you're misunderstood by the people around you, and some of these you do just kind of have to go through them yourself. Of course, you can have the therapeutic sport, like sport of a therapist or whatnot, but a lot of it is kind of just walking through those tunnels yourself, and it can feel good to, I know I'm supported. I'm okay. I got
mm,
this.
that's great. Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know that TRE works with getting stuff out of your body without having to go into memory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
it's
that,
something I'll think about as well
yeah,
for
that
the
can be an
future. Yeah.
easy, ready way to get more stability in the system
Mhm.
without having to fish into anything.
Mm, that would be good. Yeah, I'll think
Okay.
about that too.
Anything else?
No, that was the main thing this time. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table. All right. Sloan, would anyone else like to ask a question or share? Eliza. Hi, Eliza.
Hello. Um, for me, at the moment, well, my question is about beliefs and thoughts as well. And the lesson about completing the loop, I was really kind of thinking about that because I have some thoughts that it's probably more about doubt than really not believing it. My story is I can't do it. So I do the things. And there's always this voice asking, what if? What if I can't do it? And I was wondering if it just needs time and like talking to it and experiencing that I can. And through this, build the trust in knowing. Because this is what I'm doing right now. I do the things I really want to do, I do the things I enjoy, and I just try to navigate. And I love the word reassuring. Every time it comes up, what if? Like, all is well, I can do it. But yeah, and that's the question. Like, is this the way to work with this kind of thought? And it just takes time and patience.
Well, with this thought, right? What if? The truth is, you can't know.
Mhm.
We can't see into the future. So that thought might be true and it might not be true. We have absolutely no idea. So you could say this thought is just getting in the way because the only way you're going to know is by doing it. So you could say to that thought, right, if you're going to speak to sweetheart, but how do you know that it's not going to work out? Because we're not there at that point in time. Like it could equally work out. And the only way I'm going to know if you're right or if I'm right is by doing the thing. So you're working off, incomplete information, right? It's a false truth. It's not true because you can't know until you do the thing. And then when you do the thing, then you'll know. And then that's when you build trust that, I can do the thing. Or it's, let's say, if it doesn't work out, I can trust myself to try. I trusted in myself to try. So you can continue to try new things, right, until you find the thing that you really like or the thing that you really excel in or whatever it is that feeling that you want, right? We don't stop ourselves doing things because of what if. I'm thinking about all the things that I've done that people often tell me the what ifs, and I just kind of say, it'll be grand. I'll figure it out. And I've had the most amazing adventures. Generally, I'm pulling my son on my back. It's like climbing up a mountain. Like, what are you doing? But I'd really rather try than not try. My life is more fun for it. It's like I get a buzz in my body. And oftentimes when I'm doing the things that, that I've pushed myself into that other people have the what ifs, I'm not totally comfortable through that situation. Like oftentimes I can feel uncomfortable or even a little bit scared, and I have to talk to myself to continue to push myself. But at the end, I'm always proud of this amazing adventure that I've brought me and my son on.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yes,
Because
so
I usually followed the what ifs and didn't do the things I like to try. So yeah,
you learn nothing, you don't grow, and you're saying to yourself that you can't trust yourself. So the trying, even if you fail, even if it doesn't work out, it's you're building trust in yourself and courage that you can step into new environments, that you can take on new tasks and new challenges. You can do that regardless of the result. You're doing it.
yeah, I love that. That's definitely a different story than the one I was telling myself.
Yes. So,
Thank
for all of you here, then it's going back to what I was saying in the beginning about story and this thought coming in. Is that really true? Can I really know that to be true?
you.
And if I can't really know that to be true, what are the other perspectives that could be equally, if not more true? Can I focus on that one if it improves the way I feel about myself, if it improves my physical health, if it improves, right, if it's beneficial to me, why don't I just choose that thought to focus on? It takes practice, because obviously we've negative bias. You have to pull yourself over to that thought, but then everything starts changing for us, and life gets exciting, and we begin to follow the magic. Magic will be presented to you, and what I mean by magic is something that you're thinking about doing will be presented to you. You'll already have the skill to trust yourself to, make that first step. Life becomes more aligned. As you align, life lines up too. You'll only really experience, you're like, it's something you experience. Sometimes when I speak it, some of you like really understand what I'm saying, and others might think this is very woo-woo, but it's something very literal as you live more in alignment. Because if the power of your mind, if we branch that out to the collective mind, which I spoke to in one of the chapters about the collective mind presenting particular illnesses and how there has been trend in illnesses. You have the collective mind, the collective intelligence that works in and through all of life, pulling or opposing different things, different outcomes, different possibilities. You are not separate from, you are in tandem with, operating within, as part of. But first, we need to get our antenna right. We need to get the channel tuned in, which only comes from living in alignment. So that's the first part. Can I follow the calls from within? What is this maybe physical symptom trying to show me, or what is life asking of me? It's a bit more than what you asked, but
No, it's perfect. I love that. Thank you. Very helpful.
great. You're so welcome. Thank you. Do you have a question, Diana?
No question. It's really helpful to listen. And I'm a little bit behind on the coursework and also doing the work that I know that I need to do. I've been traveling for a couple weeks, and so I return back to the States next week, and I'm really joining these sessions really bring me back to the focus of it. So it is super helpful that I am joining. But I know that, and also some of the experiences that others are sharing are very similar to things that I need to work through. So hearing your responses to their questions is super beneficial. Yeah, maybe by the next session, because this session was really close to last session, the time frame between it. So by the next session, I'm probably going to have many more questions to ask, but nothing for today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, everybody, we will leave it there. And our next live call is Sunday week, the 31st, the last day of May. So I look forward to sitting with you then, and have a lovely weekend. Slán go fóill.
Fun. See everyone.
Thank you.